Hi, I'm Darren Levine. I'm from Media Halo, and today I'm going to show you a little product called the SDI to HDMI converter, which I actually never looked at the name. Here's the box it came in, and I guess it's called the Link Style HD Video Converter. Made in China, of course. It actually comes with a pretty nice looking but rather stiff HDMI cord, which I don't need. I got too many of them. And of course an AC adapter, which to me is useless because I want it to be powered by a battery. So one quick thing to note about this, since a lot of us are looking to use it on a camera or on a monitor, I did notice that under these little rubber things, there's actually 4 screws, so that makes it pretty easy to do any DIYing you like to make a mounting solution. Now the two things you can look at this as, or the two ways you can look at this as, is either it adds HDMI to a non-HDMI but SDI camera like the original EX1 here, or the way I'm going to look at it is that it adds SD into, or SDI, excuse me, to a HDMI only monitor like Craig here, who is just, something I picked up at CVS that happened to have good resolution, decent enough color, and enough inputs such as HDMI. So the one thing I did notice that I didn't like about this off the bat is that it runs off of 5 volt instead of 12. I got a lot of batteries that are 12 volts, such as this, which I use to power Craig here. But this is 5 volt, but after a quick think about it, I own a car, and I guarantee that most of you that own cars will actually own the exact same device that I made an inline 5 volt to 12 volt to 5 volt converter out of, which is one of these, one of your little phone chargers. So this one actually has 1 amp and 2.5 amp. This thing only claims to draw 1 amp. I think it draws less because it's it's a pretty small device. But the big question I'll get to now is, what is the latency or the lag of the image? Well, I'll show you that. So we've got it all hooked up, and you'll notice that I got this one battery here. This is one of those eBay 12 volt batteries. And I've got my pass-through inline converter to power the box. And we got Craig. So they're both plugged in. We turn them on. We see that we got SDI lock, which is another little actual feature. It is probably good for troubleshooting to know if you're getting a signal or not. Tells you that yes, the SD signal is connected. And of course we got this, and our EX1 is near battery end. That's fine, because I'm just going to give you a quick showing of the lag. And I can do this, go up and down. Now the one trouble is that we're comparing 2 very different monitor sizes, but if you never told me to look for a latency or a lag, I probably never would have ever noticed it. I think I noticed the slightest bit of a couple milliseconds, but not nearly enough to have me think that this will be in any way troublesome to pull focus on. So that is the lag. And if I do a slow pan, show pan, slow pan. So I'm going to call that completely fine when I'm doing this test to A, look weird, and B, let you make the decision for yourself about if it's usable for you. I just wanted to interrupt myself for a quick second because literally as I'm editing this and going frame by frame, I'm actually seeing the clear indication of just how much lag there is. And from these 6 grabs here, you can easily see both the EX1's latency as well as the monitor's latency. So if we start at the top left, you'll see there's no motion at all. Then we go to the top middle, you'll see the hand has started to move, but actually the EX1 hasn't even started to register that motion either. And then we go to the top right and we'll see that the hand is moving significantly, and you may not see it because it's pretty small, but the EX1's monitor has just barely started to register some movement. Then the bottom left, we see that the EX1's got a significant amount of movement registered, and the monitor has started to register some movement, but it definitely is a little bit behind the EX1's monitor. Keeping in mind, my hand is moving very fast. Then we go to the bottom middle and we'll see that the EX1's monitor shows the hand is almost out of frame, but we can still see the sleeve. And the monitor one shows that it's actually still quite blurred and it's almost to that point, but still it's not quite the same as the EX1 screen. Then we'll see the bottom right image that there's a whole lot of blur. That's actually the hand completely blurred. It's almost to the top. It's actually touching the top as well as the middle and with all its blur. And it's just a little bit behind. I mean, it looks like it's a half a frame at most behind the EX1 screen, but still in practice, as you saw, it's a very, very little difference. So Darren, you may continue. Good. Now I'm going to turn Craig off because the one thing I forgot to get is a thicker DC cable. Another little note, if you do have a similar setup like this and you buy one of these inexpensive eBay 12 volt batteries, they're not necessarily meant to run these monitors. This actually will run Craig for quite a few hours, which is great, but the load on these skinny cables is too much, and this cable is heating up, so I don't ever want to have it melt on me, but I do have another thicker cable on order. I can also mention that I'm just using a standard RCA cable, but I did make sure it's 75 ohm, which is to spec for SDI cable, so just mention that in case you want to speculate as to whether or not it changed the image because I'm not using an official SDI cable. And the other thing I can mention is the size, which we can actually directly relate. EX1, you could go to sleep. Thank you very much. You can directly compare it to a pack of cards. Fairly similar in thickness, fairly similar in width, and it's a little bit longer than that. And then if we want to go by weights, my little scale here, it tells me that this guy weighs, we don't even need pounds because it's not nearly enough for that, 2.6 ounces or 74 grams, which is practically nothing. So it really won't add any weight or bulk to your setup. But another thing I do like is that all the connections are on one side. Some converters are, a couple here, a couple there, one here, one there. I like it all on one side. As for the price, as I mentioned, it's under $50 if you get it from the link here on Amazon. And it's really the best buy you can get for if you want to convert your SDI only out camera to an HDMI in monitor, with of course the exception that you might not be able to use it on every monitor you have. I'm led to believe that it's strictly computer monitors that might not work with it, but again, you might as well buy it. It's only $50 or less, or I think eBay is $56. But if you go from Amazon, it's actually shipped inside the US for us US folks. And yep, that's pretty much it. It's a very basic piece of technology, and this was quite a long video for that, but of course I wanted to give you the insight as to my thoughts, the lag latency, the size, the connections, whether it'll work for you or not, and that's pretty much it. So that is the SDI to HDMI converter by Link Style, available on Amazon and eBay. I'm Darren Levine. This is MediaHill.com. Enjoy another quick tip sometime later.